Good morning, everybody. Doug is fine, sir, not needed. Thank you. And good morning and welcome to the 35th Annual Firefighter of the Year Awards. I'm Doug Meehan, morning anchor at WCVB TV in Boston. Today, our colors will be posted by the Worcester, Brockton, and Falmouth Fire Department Honor Guards. Unfortunately, Todd Angeli will be unable to join us for today's ceremony due to a personal emergency, but please remain standing for our national anthem, which will be delivered by Westboro Fire Department dispatcher Emily Fontaine, and our invocation by Reverend Bruce Arbor, Chief Chaplain, Massachusetts Corps of Fire Chaplains. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the singing of our national anthem. Again, it is Westboro Fire Department Dispatcher Emily Fontaine.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. And oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And may I introduce to you now Reverend Bruce Arbor, Chief Chaplain of Massachusetts Corps of Fire Chaplains, for our invocation.
May we gather our hearts in a spirit of prayer. Lord, with grateful hearts we come before you this morning with the privilege to gather. Gather in this safety of this very place provided by the men and women of the fire service. But in this day particularly, we raise up those who have stepped beyond the expectations to that moment where we recognize their service as being exceptional. We thank you for the families and friends that support their daily, ordinary lives, that they would be prepared to respond in extraordinary moments. Bless this time that we have together. Help us to recognize them in the fullest, and that they may know our appreciation for the service that they provide to this great Commonwealth and to our communities. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Reverend Arbor, thank you. Please have a seat. Thank you. And again, thank you to the Greater Boston, Brockton, and Worcester Pipes and Drum Band for the honor and the honor guard from Worcester, Brockton, and Falmouth here today to help us kick off the 35th annual Firefighter of the Year awards. And I do know that, as I mentioned before, Todd Angeli was at a family emergency. He was unable to come to sing the national anthem, but Emily, I think he just lost his job. So thank you for stepping in at such short notice. That was outstanding. And I know that I speak on behalf of everyone, including my colleagues at WCVB, when I say that it is truly, once again, an honor to be a part of such an amazing morning. And it's so important to recognize the members of the Massachusetts Fire Service. Firefighters are in my family. My cousin Sean is a lieutenant on the Milford Fire Department. I believe he's getting ready to retire. Of course, through my decades of reporting, covering the hundreds of fires, as we sit on the sidelines and watch what these men and women do on a daily basis is incredible. And then I had a few scary moments myself when I suited up for what felt like hours in the Department of Fire Service's live fire training prop one time. That is no joke, especially if you have claustrophobia. So just kind of a glimpse for a second into what you all face every day. Firefighters are courageous, they're smart, they're compassionate. Some of them are actually funny. And today we celebrate you. Many of the stories you're going to hear about today made the headlines this past year, although many more may have slipped past you in the constant stream of news. But these stories are important to all of us, to our communities, and more importantly, to the families of those who risk their lives to protect us. To begin today's ceremony, it is my pleasure to introduce the Secretary of Public Safety and Security, Terrence Reedy.
Good morning and welcome to Worcester and beautiful Mechanics Hall. Thank you, Doug. It's an honor to be here today and to recognize all our distinguished honorees, their families, and our fire service community across Massachusetts. I'd like to extend a special appreciation to State Fire Marshal John Davin and the dedicated staff at the Department of Fire Services for bringing us together today to celebrate remarkable acts of bravery for the commitment that they demonstrate every day to supporting the fire services community in countless ways. Through their efforts in training, fire prevention, public education, and emergency response preparedness, DFS has a vital role in safeguarding our communities. Their work ensures that our firefighters have access to the resources, training, and support they need to meet the ever-evolving challenges of the job. I'd also like to thank Governor Healy and Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll for their leadership and steadfast support of the fire services. Today, we celebrate the extraordinary courage, selflessness, and skill of our Commonwealth's firefighters. Each one of you represents the highest ideals of public service, often placing your own safety at risk to protect others. We know they would humbly say they were just doing their jobs, but that doesn't make the job any less demanding. We'll hear remarkable rescues, extraordinary days off, without warning turn into moments of life and death action. And we'll hear about the innovation, the professionalism of firefighters who use their tools, talents, and training to help during times of the greatest peril. Today's awards give us a moment to fully appreciate the bravery and the resiliency that you and your colleagues display daily. We hear stories of rescues and recovery that are truly humbling, actions that demonstrate the courage it takes to serve in this field. And as we honor each awardee, we also reflect the sacrifices made by their families, who stand with them, supporting their calling. You too are a part of the strength that enables our firefighters to do what they do. This year's honorees have not only shown incredible valor in times of emergency, but also demonstrate the ever-expanding role of the modern firefighter. Your responsibilities are complex and demanding, extending beyond fires to include hazardous material responses, high-angle rescues, and community education and fire prevention. On behalf of the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security and all of Massachusetts, we thank you. You have our respect, our admiration, our unending gratitude. We are immensely proud to stand alongside you today and celebrate your dedication, your bravery, and your sacrifice. Now, it's my privilege to introduce a steadfast advocate for health, safety, and well-being of our firefighters, and someone who has consistently championed resources and training for our firefighting service community, the Governor of Massachusetts, Maura Healey.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Many thanks to you and your team, including Deputy Secretary Sue Terry. Mayor Bell, thank you, as always, for keeping us in order. It's wonderful, wonderful to be able to be here this morning in Worcester at Mechanics Hall for what is such an important ceremony every year. I want to thank Fire Marshal John Davin. I also want to thank Doug for once again doing a beautiful job overseeing, emceeing this event. Also with thanks to members of our legislature who are here today, Representative Whips, Representative Zaros, Representative Donahue. Thank you for your continued support of the men and women who serve in the fire service and fire departments around the state. And I join you in our administration's commitment to making sure that the men and women who serve have the very best in terms of protective gear, have also the assurance that their families will be taken care of. And I say that looking directly at our PFFM President, Rich McKinnon, and members of the board. Thank you for all of your advocacy. Thank you for helping me, too, both as Attorney General and as Governor, understand what we need to do in terms of policies. And you have my continued promise and commitment to making sure that we are providing the very, very best to those who serve. Greetings as well to FCAM President Michael Kelleher. We thank you and all the chiefs across the state, and to other colleagues in government, including Worcester's own District Attorney Joe Early. Good morning. Mayor DePena from Lawrence, and other electeds who are here. I also want to note MSP Colonel Noble is here with us this morning. We thank you for that. And our Inspector General Jeff Shapiro. Good morning. I don't know about you, I woke up this morning and it was raining, and I was pretty glad about that. I was raking leaves last night, doing the continuing fall cleanup in the backyard, and it's just so brittle, so dry out there. I was in Middleton with some of you last week to talk to the public about, the dangers of this wildfire, brush fire season that we're living. So, Chaplain, if you can put in a couple more prayers for some additional rain this week, it would be much appreciated.
By the way,
Thursday? All right. You heard it first. WCBB. Thursday, let's hope it comes hard, and let's hope it comes heavy, because we need it. It's certainly been such a challenge, but of course the men and women of the fire service have once again risen to that challenge. To all the fire chiefs, firefighters, and families who are joining us today, welcome to the 35th Annual Firefighter of the Year Awards. I suppose a lot's changed over the last 35 years, but one thing that hasn't changed and will never change is the bravery, the commitment, and the dedication of our firefighters. Over the past several weeks, we've seen firefighters travel across this great state to support their brothers and sisters during an unprecedented wildland fire season. Many of them have worked days at a time, often miles from home and their families, and with little to no rest. Some were, of course, also injured during this time, and our thoughts are with them. We pray for them. These selfless men and women have held the line against fires that have threatened people, businesses, communities in our state. From Montgomery to Middleton, they've been giving 110%, and we are deeply grateful. We've also seen similar acts of service thousands of times this year, and Doug's right. Some of it is in the headlines and on the evening news, but most of it isn't. In big cities and small towns, Massachusetts firefighters made the difference at structure fires, car crashes, technical rescues, hazmat rescues, and so much more. This year's award winners carried residents from burning homes, pulled drowning swimmers from the water, and even rescued their brother and sister firefighters under crisis conditions. Some of them have spent decades protecting their communities, while others are fresh on the job. But they have one thing in common. When they heard a call for help, they answered, risking their safety and even their life to protect other people. For 35 years, the Firefighter of the Year awards have recognized acts of heroism, bravery, and service that are truly remarkable, even by the remarkable standards set by the fire service every day. So to all of this year's nominees, congratulations, we had many. And to every firefighter who puts on the gear and answers the call, know that you have my personal gratitude and the gratitude of this entire state. We're so proud to support you as you support us every day. And I hope through ceremonies like this, when this plays on the news later, that more young people will be inspired to answer the call to service, to serve in our fire departments, to serve in our police departments, to serve in our military. There's nothing better than being able to serve something more than yourself and serve your country, serve your community. Thank you again to the men and women of the fire service who have done just that. God bless you and God bless your families.
Governor, again, thank you very much for your remarks. At this time, I'd like to recognize the Heroic Awards Committee who had the honor, but more difficult, the challenging task of reviewing all the nominations and then selecting who you see on stage today. And we ask that you please hold your applause to the end. Please stand as your name is called, please. Deputy Secretary Susan Terry, State Fire Marshal John Davin, Chief Michael Kelleher, President of the Fire Chiefs Association of Massachusetts, Chief Peter Burke, immediate past President, Fire Chiefs Association of Massachusetts, Rich McKinnon Jr., President, Professional Firefighters of Massachusetts, Captain Michael McCullough, Massachusetts Call Volunteer Firefighters Association, Chief Patrick Purcell, First Vice President, Fire Chiefs Association of Massachusetts, and Paul Davies of the Tapper Club. I'd also like to recognize, if you would please stand as well, Deputy State Fire Marshal Maribel Fournier. All of the legislators and city officials are here today, and a special thank you to our host city of Worcester. Thank you. Of course, this morning, before we begin, I do want to recognize two firefighters who lost their lives this year. New Bedford firefighter Matthew Forand suffered a medical emergency and passed away on August 15th while on duty at Station 9. He was a Medal of Valor recipient at the 2014 Firefighter of the Year Awards and a beloved member of that department. Brockton firefighter Jason Gould passed away on September 28th after complications from a line of duty injury. Firefighter Gould's mask was knocked off while rescuing a woman from an apartment fire in 2016. That incident damaged his lungs, requiring 2 transplants, and then leading to his retirement from the department that he loved, and where too he was loved. Firefighter Matthew Forand and firefighter Jason Gould, their courage, service, and sacrifice define the heroism of the Massachusetts Fire Service. Please join me in a moment of silence in their memory. Thank you. As the governor had said moments ago, if this is your first time at this event, hope you're ready, because the stories are unbelievable. Some of them may even bring you to tears. I know that I've held on to this podium pretty tight over the years as I've read some of these stories. The acts of heroism and selflessness of these men and women, goes without saying, needs to be recognized more than just one day a year, but today is their day and this is their morning. Today's first award category is named for Norman Knight. He's the founder of the 100 Club. Sadly, Mr. Knight passed away this past April, just 3 months shy of his 100th birthday. An extremely successful businessman, his true mission and legacy was philanthropy. And while he supported several worthy causes for nurses, domestic violence victims, and food pantries, to name a few, firefighters, well, you were his favorite. He was a founding board member and helped establish the Firefighters Memorial at the State House. He funded not one, but 2 hyperbaric chambers at Mass Eye and Ear after a Boston firefighter had to be flown to Connecticut. And the reason was because that was the closest hyperbaric chamber at the time. And he supported several training resources and grants that helped first responders stay safe. Governor Healy, would you please step forward? I call to the stage from Barnstable Fire Department, Captain Brian Tyson. Captain Tyson is a passionate advocate for the fire safety and especially for youth fire setting prevention and intervention, or better known as in the business as the YFPI. In addition to leading the Barnstable Fire Department's public education program, he has taken the leadership role in building a YFPI infrastructure across Cape Cod. That involves all local fire departments, educators, mental health providers, as well as the Cape and Islands District Attorney's Office. By building relationships, pooling resources, and supporting effective programming, he has truly strengthened the region's YFPI capabilities and benefited at-risk youth and their families. In recognition of his tireless commitment to the fire safety education and the public that he serves, the Commonwealth is pleased to present Captain Brian Tyson with the 2024 Norman Knight Excellence in Community Service Award. That's right, don't forget the photos. That's the thing we know about folks in the fire service. They are way too humble. So this is your time not to be humble. Get up there, smile, and be proud of what you've done, and to recognize your family and friends that are gathered here today. Please welcome from the Cotuit Fire Department, firefighter paramedic Christian Gardner, and firefighter paramedic Brian Lee. Firefighters Gardner and Lee spearheaded and ran the Reassurance Program, a community wellness project for Cotuit's senior citizens. They meet with participants to conduct home safety assessments. That includes inspecting smoke and CO alarms, installing knock boxes, and reducing slip, fall, and fire hazards. The program also has a dedicated phone line for daily check-ins. And by the way, I appreciate that, as my mother, who's in her mid-80s, lives down in the Cape, and I thank you for that. When one of the participants missed their check-in call this past January and didn't respond to a follow-up, a Cotuit unit was dispatched to the home for a well-being check. They found the resident unresponsive and immediately began patient care. The resident was transported, treated, and ultimately returned home, the direct result of a vital new program started by these 2 community heroes. In recognition of their commitment to helping senior citizens in their community stay safe, the Commonwealth presents firefighter paramedic Christian Gardner and Brian Lee the 2024 Norman Knight Excellence in Community Service Group Award. And how important that is for those seniors down there. Thank you very much. We will now present citations for meritorious conduct. Please welcome from the Amesbury Fire Department, firefighter paramedic Justin Kane, and firefighter paramedic Carl Rizzo. Late in the afternoon of January 11th, the Amesbury Fire Department responded to a mutual aid call from nearby Southampton, New Hampshire. A driver had gone off the road into the Powwow River and was trapped inside the vehicle. It was nearly dusk, temperatures were in the 30s, and the water was deep and choppy due to heavy rainfall and open dams upriver. A swift current had swept the car under a bridge, and it was submerged with the driver's side facing down. Wearing rescue kits or suits and tethered by throw ropes, firefighters Kane and Rizzo immediately entered the dark and icy water to find the driver entangled in his seatbelt. After repeatedly trying to enter the submerged vehicle and battling the powerful currents, they extricated the man for transportation to the nearest hospital, where tragically he later succumbed to his injuries. In recognition of their quick thinking and rapid action in extreme weather conditions, the Commonwealth is for their heroic and coordinated efforts to save the lives. The Commonwealth is pleased to present these Attleboro firefighters with the 2020 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. Please welcome from the Brockton Fire Department, firefighter Helio Lima. Firefighter Lima was off duty on the night of July 8th, 2023, when he went to pick up his brother from a party, and when he arrived, he found people panicking because a guest was missing from the pool area. With no protective equipment and no hesitation, firefighter Lima jumped into the pool to search for the victim. Concrete dust from construction in the backyard made the water dark and murky, but he located that unconscious adult male and pulled him from the pool with other guests' help. Firefighter Lima performed CPR, resuscitated the man, and continued ventilation until on-duty firefighters arrived and took over patient care. This proves that firefighters are never truly off-duty, and this is just one story to prove it. In recognition of his life-saving actions when every second mattered, the Commonwealth is pleased to present firefighter Lima with the 2024 Governor's Citation for Meritorious Conduct. Please welcome from the Chicopee Fire Department, Deputy Chief Peter Jerusik, Lieutenant Joshua Provost, Lieutenant Matthew Zabik, Firefighter Stephen Lauren, Firefighter Laura Rousseau, Firefighter Benjamin Souza, Firefighter Patrick Strepka, and Firefighter Nathan Carvalho, who is unable to be here today. It was on the evening of May 7th, the Chicopee Fire Department responded to a report of a teenager trapped in the Front Street Canal. The Chicopee Police Department, already on scene, had thrown a rescue rope to the teen who was struggling to hold on when firefighters arrived. The victim was surrounded by fencing and high cement walls along the canal, where the speed and volume of the current was well above normal. Even worse, that canal emptied into the Chicopee River, and the teenager was rapidly losing his strength. Deputy Chief Jerusik assessed the conditions and recognized that the only chance to save this teen's life was an immediate rescue operation. He directed an additional company to set up downstream and then began mobilizing resources with his crew. They deployed a ground ladder into the water for the victim. When he was unable to grab it, one of the firefighters climbed down the ladder and into the canal and kept him above water. There was no stable spot to rest the ladder tip, so 2 more firefighters held it in place manually through the entire operation. Additional personnel arrived and lowered a rescue boat into the canal. Oars, they were no good against the powerful current, so they used a rope to maneuver downstream and hold position until they could pull the victim from the water. Then they were able to lift him over the wall to a waiting stretcher and transport him to the hospital, where he made a full recovery. For their heroism and teamwork under extreme conditions, the Commonwealth is pleased to present these members of the Chicopee Fire Department with the 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. From the Worcester Fire Department, I call to the stage Lieutenant Patrick Shivrick, Firefighter Patrick Filbert, Firefighter Matthew Foley, Firefighter Ryan McGee, and Firefighter Edwin Paulino. Lieutenants Matthew Johnson, Brian O'Connor, and Firefighters Michael Berube and Timothy Brotherton, Timothy Von Taine, Dana Ford, and Andre Stearns are unable to be here today. It was on the night of November 12th of 2023 when Worcester firefighter Ryan McGee was off duty at home when he heard neighbors shouting fire. He ran outside to see flames coming from a multi-family home. Heavy smoke was visible from the 3rd floor, and he could see that people were trapped in the window. With no protective gear, he sprinted to the home and made entry to attempt a rescue. Due to the rapidly deteriorating conditions, he was unable to reach the 3rd floor. Instead, he raced back outside beneath the window where the mother and child were. All the while reassuring them that help was coming, he directed them to stay at the window and stay focused on him. Moments later, Engine 9, Engine 12, and Ladder 1 arrived on scene. They found heavy smoke pushing out from several top floor windows and knew that people were trapped inside. One of the first arriving crew saw a mother and child on the 3rd floor corner with smoke above their heads and received detailed information from Firefighter McGee. Ladder 1 got to work setting up a ground ladder to the window. The crew of Engine 12 set up a hose line to knock down the fire in the back of the building and helped Ladder 1 throw a second ladder right next to the first one. With these 2 ladders side by side, firefighters climbed up to the window and assisted the daughter out. Firefighters on the second ladder then moved over to the first to rescue the mother as the daughter was being carried down to safety. Side by side, they went over to the other ladder. This required a perfect transfer from one ladder to another, 30 feet above the ground under true crisis conditions. And it ran like clockwork. The smoke conditions from the window intensified and created non-survivable conditions on that 3rd floor. Firefighter McGee, please step forward. For his selfless actions to help his neighbors with no protective gear, the Commonwealth presents Firefighter Ryan McGee with a 2024 Governor's Citation for Meritorious Service. And for their skill, determination, and decisive actions to rescue 2 people, the Commonwealth presents the members of Worcester Engine 6, Engine 12, and Ladder 1 with the 2024 Governor's Citation for Group Meritorious Conduct. Please welcome from the Dartmouth Fire District 1, Assistant Chief Timothy Lancaster, Captain Ryan Cabral, Captain Jeffrey Costa, Lieutenant Joshua Ferreira, and Lieutenant Scott Gerald Robello. On the afternoon of October 8th, 2023, Dartmouth Fire District 1 responded to the call for a capsized sailboat with 2 people in the water off the coast of East Beach, Buzzards Bay in Westport. Conditions that day were low visibility with heavy waves and winds blowing 25 to 30 miles an hour. The Coast Guard, they were busy with another distress call, and the boats at nearby departments were out of service or unable to respond due to that weather. As the 5 crew members of Marine One set off for their location, they knew that every minute would make a difference in survivability. They arrived 20 minutes after the initial call and rescued the first victim, who was clinging to the hull of the overturned boat. Knowing that the fierce winds would push the second victim out to sea and certain death, they used their knowledge of the tide, the wind, and the drift to perform a search of the area. In low visibility with daylight fading quickly, they spotted that victim a quarter of a mile away, brought him on board, and transported both of those sailors to shore. For their bravery, quick thinking, and life-saving skills, when they were the only ones who could help, the Commonwealth presents these members of Dartmouth Fire District 1 with the 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. I call to the stage Plymouth Fire Department firefighter Joshua Daubert. On the morning of June 6th, Plymouth firefighter Joshua Daubert was off duty at the Leo F. Damarsh boat ramp in Weymouth. He was getting ready to participate in a charity fishing tournament to benefit veterans when a man lost control of his electric mobility scooter and slid down the steep ramp into the water. Without hesitation, dressed only in to go fishing, firefighter Daubert dove into the 50-degree water to rescue the man, who was unable to swim and in danger of drowning. With the assistance of a fellow Good Samaritan, firefighter Daubert kept the man afloat until another off-duty first responder pulled him onto the dock with no injuries. For his quick thinking and life-saving skills while off-duty, the Commonwealth presents firefighter Joshua Daubert with a 2024 Governor's Citation for Meritorious Conduct. From the Lawrence Fire Department, please welcome firefighter Gabriel Fraval, firefighter Patrick Sweeney, and Lieutenant Joseph Murphy, who's unable to be here today. It was on the afternoon of January 19th, the Lawrence Fire Department responded to a fire inside a historic Victorian-style home. Ladder 4, led by Lieutenant Murphy, and Engine 9 were first on the scene and reported heavy smoke and flames in the wood frame building. As Lieutenant Murphy set up the ladder, he was told there was a victim trapped on the 3rd floor near a window facing the street. But this was no standard-sized window. It was a tiny relic from the 1800s built into an old-fashioned tower. Engine 9 began an attack on that fire, and additional companies advanced a second line into the building as they searched for other occupants. Meanwhile, firefighter Sweeney threw ladder 4's aerial to the trapped victim's 3rd floor window. It was Lieutenant Murphy and firefighter Fraval who scaled it and found the window was too small to effect the rescue. Undeterred, they removed that window from the wall, got the man onto the ladder, and brought him down to safety. A short time later, two of the firefighters who had been searching for other occupants found themselves disoriented and in a maze of unpermitted apartments. With every second on the heavy smoke and low visibility placing them in greater danger, they finally found a window at the front of the building. Ladder 4 again, positioning the stick, giving them an escape route from that life-threatening conditions. And for their heroism and teamwork to rescue civilians and fellow firefighters from potentially deadly conditions, the Commonwealth is pleased to present Lieutenant Murphy, Firefighter Fraval, and Sweeney with the 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. Please welcome Acting Lieutenant Brandon Medeiros and Firefighter Stephen Holzer from the New Bedford Fire Department. On the afternoon of November 2nd, 2023, the New Bedford Fire Department responded to multiple 911 calls for a house fire. They arrived to find heavy flames and smoke coming from the third floor of the home. Bystanders telling the arriving crews that multiple residents may have been trapped on the second or third floors. As Engine 6 went to the back of the dwelling, they found residents attempting to carry a disabled man down the back stairs. Acting Lieutenant Medeiros and Firefighter Holzer took over, allowing the other occupants to get clear of the danger and carrying their patient to safety before going back to work on the fire. The roof and front porches collapsed, but no serious injuries were reported. For their quick thinking actions in a chaotic setting, the Commonwealth is pleased to present Acting Lieutenant Medeiros and Firefighter Holzer with the 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. And from the Newton Fire Department, I call to the stage Captain Carl Gus Savarstrom, Lieutenant Joseph DeLuca, Firefighter Richard Bosa, Firefighter Ryan Doherty, Firefighter Michael Pullman, Firefighter Lawrence Quinn, Firefighter Andrew Sabordone, and Firefighter Joseph Urardi. In the evening of January 24th, the Newton Fire Department responded to the report of a house fire with occupants trapped. With heavy smoke and fire showing on arrival, they quickly struck a second alarm. Ladder 3 forced entry to start a search, and despite zero visibility, high heat, heavy smoke, and extreme clutter, they located and rescued one woman from the danger. Rescue 1 entered the house through a side door with the protection of a hose line to search for the second victim. Facing the same hazards in tight quarters, they were able to locate the second victim, a man in his 80s, and take him outside to medical care. Both victims were rushed to Mass General. The woman eventually recovered. The older gentleman hung on for several weeks before succumbing to his injuries. But it gave his family a chance to say goodbye in a place of dignity and calm. For their heroic actions and determination, the Commonwealth presents these Newton firefighters with the 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. This next award goes by an area I grew up in, going by 9 times a day, working for Highline back in the day on Hyannis. So, welcome from the Hyannis Fire Department, Firefighter Chet Cogshall and Firefighter Jeffrey Irving. Firefighters Cogshall and Irving are members of the department's dive team. On the night of September 25th, 2023, they heard a radio call for a car submerged in the water in nearby Yarmouth and geared up in preparation. Sure enough, area dive teams were requested, and they were the first on the scene. They quickly learned that a woman was trapped inside the vehicle about 200 feet out in the waters off of Bayview Beach. It was about 11 o'clock at night. Both firefighters entered the water in heavy current with limited visibility, swimming out to the estimated location of the victim's vehicle. Firefighter Cogshall kept in contact with Firefighter Irving as he descended approximately 15 feet to the sea floor. He found that vehicle, but the door was jammed into the silt. While trying to open it, Firefighter Irving became entangled with the vehicle, and not wanting to lose the vehicle while there was a chance of saving the occupant, he released his tether, untangled it, and then retethered. He was then able to open the vehicle and bring the victims to the water surface. Both firefighters brought her ashore for transport by EMS, but tragically that victim had been in cardiac arrest while in that vehicle and later passed away. But still, for their technical skill and dogged determination under extreme conditions, the Commonwealth is pleased to present Firefighters Chester Cogshall and Firefighter Jeffrey Irving with the 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. I now call to the stage from the North Attleboro Fire Department, Assistant Fire Chief Paramedic George McKinnon, Superintendent Paramedic James Kern, Lieutenant Paramedic Sean Brillon, Lieutenant Paramedic Diego De Silva, Lieutenant EMT Kurt Crawton, Firefighter EMT Cameron Cornetta, Firefighter Paramedic Aaron Braga, Firefighter Paramedic Matt Schaefer, and Firefighter Paramedic Mike Smith. It was on September 11th, 2023, catastrophic floods tore through North Attleboro. More than 200 homes were damaged in the span of just an hour, and North Attleboro Fire Department received about 150 calls for help. Lieutenant Crawton, Firefighter Schaefer, and Firefighter Burns responded to one of those calls for a family trapped inside their home. They arrived amid heavy rainfall, zero visibility, flash flooding, and water in the basement and first floor. Fortunately, the family was safe, but while retrieving a piece of equipment, Firefighter Burns experienced a sudden medical emergency. The homeowner's teenage son ran into the house shouting that a firefighter was on the ground face down outside. Lieutenant Crawton and Firefighter Schaefer found Firefighter Burns unresponsive, not breathing, with no pulse. The lieutenant immediately requested additional units and an ambulance. As numerous personnel began to arrive, including some who were off duty, then began aggressive CPR, applied an AED, and they got a pulse. They continued to provide advanced life support care in the ambulance all the way to the hospital, where he arrived in critical condition, but he was alive. After being moved to Rhode Island Hospital, Firefighter Burns made a remarkable recovery thanks to the highest levels of professional emergency care at the scene and in transport. For their heroic actions under dangerous conditions that ultimately saved one of their own, the Commonwealth is pleased to present these members of the North Attleboro Fire Department with the 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. And from the Salisbury Fire Department, please welcome to the stage Chief Scott Kerrigan, Lieutenant Daniel Soliotis, Firefighter Paramedic Matthew Nichols, and Firefighter Christopher Stiles. In the early afternoon of September 20th, 2023, the Salisbury Fire Department was dispatched to the report of a swimmer in distress on the north end of Salisbury Beach. Chief Kerrigan knew that the on-duty crew was training at the marina on the other side of town and still several minutes away, so he responded directly from his office. He quickly learned that one man was in the water face down about 100 yards out and 75 yards down the shore. Chief Kerrigan grabbed his torpedo tube rescue device, ran further down the shoreline until he was parallel with the victim, and swam out to the victim. He was able to loop the rescue device over the man's arms, flip him over, and begin the swim back. Meanwhile, the on-duty crew raced to the scene from the other end of town, not realizing that their chief was in the water too. They arrived 3 minutes later and immediately jumped into action. Lieutenant Soliotis and Firefighter Stiles swam out to support the rescue, fighting that same rip current that had carried the victim away. They helped bring the victim to shore while Firefighter Nichols handled radio communications and prepared the transition to patient care. Once on the beach, they began life-saving efforts, including CPR, and carried the man about 200 yards over the beach, through the sand dunes, to an awaiting ambulance. Tragically, he would later be pronounced deceased, but there was no effort spared to save that person's life. For their decisive actions, the Commonwealth is proud to present these Salisbury firefighters with the 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Service. And from the Springfield Fire Department, please welcome Captain Angel Caquias, Lieutenant Craig Fallon, Lieutenant William LaPalme, Firefighter Anthony Basile, Firefighter Melquan Bland, Firefighter Luis Cruz, Firefighter Dominic Grilly, Firefighter Rashawn James, Firefighter Jason McClendon, Firefighter Christian Ramos, Firefighter Eric Xavier Smith, and Firefighter Corey LeBoy, who is unable to be here today. It was in the early morning hours of October 16th of 2023 when Springfield Fire Department responded to multiple calls of a house fire with occupants trapped inside. Upon arrival, firefighters found heavy smoke and smoke visible on the first and second floors. Residents who had escaped the flames told crews that 2 people were still inside. Firefighters on Truck 4 entered the building from the back. They fought against heavy heat and smoke, searching until they found an occupant unresponsive on the kitchen floor. They carried the victim outside. They began life-saving measures until EMS took over. Meanwhile, Engine 4 attacked the fire from the front, knocking down the surface fire and attempting to secure the front entrance, Engine 1 stretching a line to cover a second-floor search. The rescue squad threw a ground ladder to the second floor and was able to enter the building near where the second victim was reported. Facing high heat and low visibility, they found the second victim unresponsive on that floor. Firefighters removed her over the ladder and started life-saving measures once on the ground. Conditions, they were rapidly deteriorating, but firefighters removed all occupants from that building. One of the rescued patients suffered fatal injuries, but the others survived after being med-fled to a Boston hospital. And in recognition of their bravery and determination to rescue 2 trapped residents, the Commonwealth is pleased to present these Springfield firefighters with the 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. And the families in the back, get your pictures? All right, good. It's a big group. Please welcome to the stage Lieutenant Matthew Kane and Lieutenant John Yushinsky from the Worcester Fire Department. In the early evening of August 27th, 2023, Lieutenants Kane and Yushinsky were assigned to the Worcester Caribbean Festival. Their role was to ensure that all the necessary fire safety measures were taken at this annual event. And while conducting routine rounds, Lieutenant Kane heard shots ring out in the park and saw a smoke cloud. As police raced toward that scene, the two firefighters immediately fell in behind to help treat any injured parties. They quickly located one person with a gunshot wound to his foot. After assessing the injury, they determined that it could be treated with direct pressure. Lieutenant Kane radioed fire alarm to notify them that their ongoing incident, and Lieutenant Yushinsky was aided by Worcester Police in treating that injury. As the treatment was underway, they heard screaming and learned of a second victim with a much more serious injury, gunshot wound to the neck. Without any ballistic protection, and despite the danger of an armed gunman at large in that area, the firefighters transferred care from the first patient to Worcester Police and then began treating this life-threatening second injury. Knowing that every second would count if this patient's life were to be saved, they made the decision to load him into a police cruiser. Lieutenant Yushinsky remained with that patient in the backseat of that cruiser, applying constant pressure to that gunshot wound until the arrival at the emergency department. Lieutenant Kane remained on the scene and helped administer medical assistance to that first patient until paramedics arrived. Before clearing the scene, Lieutenant Kane took notice of house cameras that were later helpful to police in their investigation. In recognition of their quick thinking and selfless instinct to aid others at the scene of a multiple shooting, the Commonwealth is pleased to present Lieutenant Matthew Kane and Lieutenant John Yushinsky with the 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. From the Westboro Fire Department, I call to the stage Lieutenant Christopher Dubois, Firefighter Sean Doherty, Firefighter David Dutton, Firefighter Patrick Sheridan, and Firefighter Chris Weinworm. It was about 2 in the morning on June 2nd, and the Westboro Fire Department responded to several 911 calls for a structure fire on a block of mixed commercial and residential buildings. Lieutenant Dubois, the shift commander, observed heavy fire and heard screams for help as he surveyed the scene and struck a second alarm. Engine 4 maneuvered into an alleyway to reach the back of the building. On the roof, silhouetted against heavy smoke, were a man and woman trapped by the fire billowing below them. Engine 4 pulled to a stop. Firefighters threw ground ladders to reach the victims and deployed a 2.5-inch hand line. Firefighters Doherty and Sheridan called a ladder to reach the victims, or scaled that ladder, to reach the victims and move them to safety from that roof. With no water supply established yet, firefighters Dutton and Wineworm had to conserve water, discharging just enough from the tank to protect the victims, firefighters, and rescue effort. The careful teamwork and technical skill on the ground and the bold action on the ladder led to the successful rescue of both parties. For their bravery, quick thinking, and life-saving skills, the Commonwealth presents these Westboro firefighters with a 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. Please welcome Whitman Fire Department, firefighter Zachary Baldwin, firefighter paramedic Russell Lucas, firefighter paramedic Jerry Thompson, firefighter paramedic Justin Everson, and firefighter paramedic Joseph Lasco. On the afternoon of December 25th, yes, Christmas afternoon 2023, the Whitman Fire Department dispatched to residents for 2 calls, an unknown alarm and a medical emergency. This was highly unusual, and it meant most of the department was responding. As the shift commander reported from the scene, it was apparent that something was wrong. He was having difficulty talking on the radio. On arrival, paramedics quickly recognized that the commander was having his own critical medical emergency, and they requested a second ambulance. There were now 3 calls at this one home, and several of the personnel were fresh on the job. Faced with multiple crises involving a civilian patient and their own supervisor, the group safely and professionally provided the necessary care to all patients. An emergency room doctor later informed them that the shift commander's life had been saved by their clear thinking and effective treatment at that scene. For handling a high-stress, multiple patient emergency with clarity and calm, and for saving the life of their own supervisor in an unexpected incident within an incident, the Commonwealth presents these Whitman firefighters with the 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. Please welcome to the stage Lieutenant Robert Garrity and firefighter Sean Courtney from the Woburn Fire Department. By the way, firefighter Douglas Massey is currently deployed with the U.S. Marines and unable to be here today. In the early morning hours of May 26th, the Woburn Fire Department responded to a 3-family house fire. On arrival, they found heavy smoke coming from the home and quickly struck a second and third alarm. Tower 1 reported people trapped in the window on that second floor where the bulk of the fire was located. One child had jumped from the building and a second escaped through the window and onto a smaller roof just below. Lieutenant Garrity and firefighter Massey quickly deployed a ground ladder to rescue that young girl, while firefighter Courtney set up the aerial for additional rescues if needed. Lieutenant Garrity climbed up the ladder, retrieved the girl from the roof, and brought her down to safety. She was taken to the hospital for evaluation without serious injuries. And for their heroic actions that resulted in saving a child's life, the Commonwealth presents Lieutenant Robert Garrity, firefighter Sean Courtney, and firefighter Douglas Massey with a 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. For our next presentation, please welcome State Fire Marshal John David.
Thank you, Doug. The Stephen D. Cohn Fire Marshal's Award recognizes remarkable accomplishments that are worthy of the highest honors, but don't fit neatly into our other categories. For decades, Massachusetts has been one of the most safe states in the nation. There are many factors because of this. Our commitment to firefighter training, our insistence on effective fire protection standards, and our investment in consistent, statewide, professional fire safety education. But while these values are an important part of our success, they aren't the reason for our success. It takes passionate leaders to put values into practice. Deputy Chief Edward Williams is just such a leader. Deputy Chief Williams, would you please come to the stage? For more than 35 years, he has been at the forefront of fire and life safety education, regulation, investigation, and enforcement. He was admitted to the Fire Prevention Association of Massachusetts in 1989, back when many of today's awards recipients were probably still playing with fire trucks. And he served for more than a decade on its board of directors. You name the certification, and Deputy Chief Williams has earned it. Fire instructor, fire officer, fire investigator, fire inspector, and many more. In fact, he spent 3 years as a fire inspector at the former Plymouth Nuclear Power Station, one of the most high-stakes roles in fire prevention that one can imagine. In 2011, he was the Fire Prevention Association of Massachusetts recommendation for an open seat on the Board of Fire Protection Regulations, which promulgates state fire code, which is the last word on fire safety in our Commonwealth. He's worked with us at the Department of Fire Services on countless fire prevention and protection strategies, and he was instrumental in helping us spread the awareness on the 2004 Nightclub Fire Safety Act that protects our residents from tragedies like the station nightclub fire. Deputy Williams is one of Massachusetts' longest serving fire prevention officers and among the most effective. Throughout 3.5 decades, his patient, methodical work on the front end of the fire protection has prevented many properties from damage and human tragedy. Please join me in thanking a leader and a legend, Brockton Deputy Fire Chief Edward Williams.
Congratulations, Deputy Chief Williams. Please welcome from the Orange Fire Department, Acting Captain Timothy Matthews, Lieutenant Philip Dupel, Lieutenant EMS Jason Rushford, and Firefighter Paramedic Nino Rodriguez. On the night of December 13th of 2023, the Orange Fire Department was dispatched to a residential structure fire with 2 people trapped inside. Upon arrival, Engine 2, Ladder 1, and Ambulance 1 found heavy fire visible on one side and heavy smoke showing from the eaves. Several residents have escaped, including one person covered in soot and suffering from burns and smoke inhalation. She had narrowly escaped the building and told firefighters that a disabled woman was still inside. Firefighter Rodriguez made the first attempt to rescue the occupant and encountered heavy smoke venting from the entrance. He stretched the initial attack line and helped establish a water supply from a hydrant about 100 feet away. Acting Captain Matthews, Lieutenant Rushford, and Lieutenant Duppel advanced a charge hose line up a wheelchair ramp, suppressing the heavy fire, and entered the home. Acting Captain Matthews and Lieutenant Rushford split up in search of the victim, while Lieutenant Duppel held back the advancing fire, which was consuming the entire structure. Captain Matthews located the victim, who was disabled and unable to move. He and the group carried her outside. She was suffering from significant burns and smoke inhalation, but still at the time attempting to breathe on her own. With Firefighter Rodriguez transitioning to a lead paramedic role, the victim was transported immediately to a local hospital and later flown to Brigham and Women's, where she was placed on a ventilator, but sadly she later succumbed to her injuries. For their quick thinking and teamwork to rescue a vulnerable resident from untenable conditions, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is proud to present these members of the Orange Fire Department the 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. Don't go anywhere just yet. Acting Captain Timothy Matthew, please step forward. For heroic actions under extreme conditions, the Commonwealth is proud to present Acting Captain Timothy Matthews with the 2024 Firefighter of the Year Medal of Valor. We'd like to now welcome members of the Falmouth Fire Department, and as we bring them upstairs or to this front of the stage here, the list is quite long, and I'm wondering if there's anybody still left in Falmouth. Nonetheless, Chief Timothy Smith, Deputy Chief Scott Thrasher, Deputy Chief Chad Abston, Captain Ryan Gavin, Lieutenant Timothy Bailey, Lieutenant Jeffrey Waggett, Lieutenant Benjamin Wellington, Firefighter Damian Boyer, Firefighter Jake Hannafin, Firefighter Randy Kozlowski, Firefighter Barry Lima Jr., Firefighter Christopher McEntee, Firefighter Jeffrey Mayo, Firefighter Stephanie Mellinson, Firefighter Dallas O'Brien, Firefighter Casey Reed, Firefighter Mackenzie Wyman, and Firefighter Nicholas Zimmerman. I told you I wasn't kidding. It is important to note that there are more. Lieutenant Christopher Brown and firefighters Nathan DeRosia and Daniel Lopes Jr. were unable to be here today. Heck, there wasn't any room for them anyways. On the afternoon of December 17th, 2023, the Falmouth Fire Department responded to the report of smoke showing at a vacation home that had been closed for the season. Engine 25 was first on the scene and confirmed a moderate smoke condition. What they did not see was the rolling fire in the basement. That fire had already damaged and weakened that structure. Lieutenant Bailey and firefighters Boyer and Reed began stretching a hose line through the front door when suddenly, without warning, the floor collapsed, and Lieutenant Bailey plunged to the basement. Firefighter Reed, just a few steps behind him, immediately called a mayday. He opened the nozzle to a fog pattern and pushed the line through the floor to shield Lieutenant Bailey from the smoke and flames in the basement. Rescuing the lieutenant was the urgent priority, and despite the risk to themselves, the crew held their position, trying to place a ladder to access the basement and rescue them. Meanwhile, Chief Smith, Deputy Thrasher, and others forced entry through a bulkhead into that basement, where they encountered heavy, blinding smoke. The rapid intervention team fought against these near zero visibility conditions and located Lieutenant Bailey badly injured, I don't want to get this story right because it is heavy. In these near zero visibility conditions, and they located Lieutenant Bailey, badly injured, but making a heroic effort to self-extricate. They assisted him out of the basement, through the bulkhead, and into a waiting Stokes basket. Lieutenant Bailey was flown by med-flight to Massachusetts General Hospital, where he was treated for severe traumatic injuries. 2 other firefighters were also hospitalized, but every firefighter who entered that structure that day survived. It was thanks to the heroism, teamwork, and split-second decisive actions of everyone on that fire ground. There is no call more fraught with danger and tension than a firefighter's mayday. For their heroism and teamwork under extreme conditions, the Commonwealth is pleased to present members of the Falmouth Fire Department with the 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. And will Lieutenant Timothy Bailey and Firefighter Damian Boyer and Firefighter Casey Reed please step forward? For their bravery in the face of grave danger that arose without warning, the Commonwealth is proud to present Lieutenant Timothy Bailey, Firefighter Damian Boyer, and Firefighter Casey Reed with the 2024 Firefighter of the Year Medal of Valor. Once again, members of the Falmouth Fire Department. By the way, I apologize if I get a little emotional when I start reading these stories. Sometimes when we're doing them on the news, we got to stay stone cold, non-emotional. But when you meet the men and women that are responsible for these actions, it's hard not to. So bear with me if you just gets tough. I call to the stage from the Worcester Fire Department, Firefighter Sean Murphy and Firefighter Justin Pike. Captain Jesse Verdolino, Lieutenants Patrick Longnane and Patrick Moran, and Firefighter David Brotherton, Steve Brotherton, Giuliano Conte, Kyle Green, Jeremy Horan, Daniel Roy, and Jordan Rutherford, all unable to be here today. In the early morning hours of June 4th, the Worcester Fire Department responded to a call for a structure fire in a large apartment complex. This particular building had 36 units on the 3 floors and a shared roof with 2 other buildings. When crews arrived, they saw heavy fire coming out of the 3rd floor and roof and quickly realized that occupants were trapped inside at the rear of the 3rd floor. The courtyard, walkways, and layout of the buildings meant that the ladder truck could not access the rear. Ground ladders were the only option. 2nd and 3rd alarms were struck quickly. With heavy heat and dangerous conditions on the 3rd floor, the crew of Ladder 7 immediately threw a ground ladder to a window. Engine 4 flowed water from a hand line to keep the flames away from the victims as Ladder 7 made 2 rescues. One of the rescued occupants told firefighters that someone was still inside. So Engine 2 brought a charged hose line to cover Ladder 4 as they performed another search. Fortunately, that missing occupant had escaped on her own. Following these extraordinary actions, the firefighters of Ladder 7 entered a neighboring building and removed 3 occupants who were unaware of the fire that was overtaking their home. Representing the members of Engine 2, Firefighter Justin Pike, please step forward. For their teamwork and bravery, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is proud to present members of Engine 2 with the 2024 Governor's Group Citation for Meritorious Conduct. Representing the members of Engine 4, Ladder 7, Firefighter Sean Murphy, please step forward. For their quick thinking, selfless instinct, and heroic efforts to save 2 lives, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is proud to present the members of Engine 4 and Ladder 7 with the 2024 Firefighter of the Year Medal of Valor. Please welcome from the Lowell Fire Department, Lieutenant Daniel Eaton, Firefighter Pernell Davis, and Firefighter Michael Santos. It was about noontime on February 16th. The Lowell Fire Department responded to a fire in a 2-family home. Firefighters arrived to find the 2nd floor porch fully engulfed in heavy fire driven by high winds. As the crews started to extinguish the blaze on the porch, a distraught woman told the incident commander that her elderly mother was still inside on the 2nd floor. Lieutenant Eaton, Firefighter Santos, and Firefighter Davis on the rescue crew entered the house to search for the occupant and any other residents. While they reached the top of the stairs, they were met immediately with a wall of flames. Engine 1 and Ladder 2 helped to stretch and advance a hose line. And under extreme heat and heavy fire, Lieutenant Eaton and Firefighters Santos and Davis searched the 2nd floor and found the woman in the rear of that building, conscious but in life-threatening danger. Maintaining radio contact with the incident commander, they requested EMS to the back of the building and transported the woman down a secondary egress. She was then flown to a Boston hospital and she survived her injuries. In recognition of their selfless heroism and determined efforts to save a resident's life, the Commonwealth is pleased to present Lieutenant Daniel Eaton, Firefighter Pernell Davis, and Firefighter Michael Santos with the 2024 Firefighter of the Year Medal of Valor. Thank you all. At this time, that concludes our awards, and I'd like to thank our recipients this year for their remarkable actions, efforts, and achievements on behalf of the Commonwealth. I would like to also thank their departments and, yes, their families for taking the time to join us on this special day. And finally, I'd like to recognize all of our firefighters for answering the call every day, no matter what danger stands before them. I do ask that you remain standing, please, as the Falmouth Fire Chief Timothy Smith rings the fire bell in remembrance of all firefighters who have passed away in the line of duty. And following the ringing of the bell and a moment of silence, the pipes and drum bands will play Amazing Grace, and Fire Chief Chaplain Bruce Arbor will lead us in the benediction. Chief Smith.
As we prepare to go from this place, we have been reminded of the heroic efforts of those who have answered the call. And now we prepare to return to our communities, where those who will continue to answer that call look for the safety and protection of the one who creates and sustains us. I ask that blessing of that Creator upon each of us, upon our governor and all our elected and appointed officials, as they do their task to support the firefighter and the stations and the work, of our marshal, our chiefs, our captains and lieutenants, the firefighters who answer the call every day. Let us always be mindful of their presence in our communities, forever grateful and praying for their peace and the very peace that would bless their homes. In the holy name of the one who creates and sustains us, I offer this blessing in this day and forevermore. Amen.
Reverend Arbor, thank you. And thank you to everybody who contributed to the success of this event. And just like television, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to thank our sponsors. National Grid, Comstar Ambulance Billing Service, Motorola Solutions, LW Bills Company, Professional Firefighters of Massachusetts, Northeastern Gas Association, Berman Adjusters, Fire Chiefs Association of Massachusetts, Massachusetts Call Volunteer Firefighters Association, National Fire Protection Association, and Signal Communications Corporation. They're the ones that helped put this all together, so we thank them. And like every year, we also want to thank Mechanics Hall for their generosity for this amazing hall to hold this day. And again, to dispatcher Emily Fontaine for singing our national anthem, stepping up. Please join us immediately following the conclusion of the ceremony for a reception on that second floor. This does conclude our program. Please remain in your seats until the stage participants have left the hall. We wish you all a very safe and happy holiday season. Stay safe out there.